San Francisco's ban is just the beginning of a national battle over facial recognition. Police say facial recognition is essential and imperative, a groundbreaking tool that allows them to track down criminals who would otherwise escape justice. Opponents say the technology is nefarious and dangerous, an omen of repressive government surveillance. The two sides are engaged in an escalating battle over public opinion that will reach a turning point this week, when San Francisco is expected to become the first city in the country on government use of facial recognition. Other cities in the Bay Area, including Berkeley, along with, could follow later this year. State lawmakers, the proposed bans have injected new momentum into a campaign by civil rights advocates, defense lawyers, and artificial intelligence researchers to expose the flaws of facial recognition to lawmakers and the public. Linking the fight with but law enforcement officials and the companies that develop facial recognition systems say the opponents are misinforming the public by emphasizing the technology's shortcomings and overlooking its benefits. They are trying to hundreds of American police agencies already have access to facial recognition, with many, from shootings to thefts. But very few of That effort is underway, said Benji Hutchinson, Vice President of Federal Operations at NEC Corporation of America, one of the largest suppliers of facial recognition systems to law enforcement. The company has said there are no pending bills in Congress to regulate the government's use of facial recognition. Opponents of facial recognition believe they have built a model to fight the technology. It is rooted in a move. The American Civil Liberties Union has since 11 local governments. The ACLU has also written model legislation for local governments specifically focused on banning facial recognition. Matt Cagle, an attorney at the ACLU of Northern California, was among the leaders of the campaign to ban facial recognition in San Francisco, which began last fall. Although the city is communities, that approach will be used elsewhere. Lawmakers in Somerville, Massachusetts, used the ACLU's model legislation as a guide for its pending ban on its local government's use of the technology. Tech firms and some police agencies say they aren't against stronger checks on government surveillance, including measures that require agencies to publicly explain how they would use the technology they want to buy, rather than impose this.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.